This is your astrological overview for Pisces season. Pisces season begins at the end of February and runs through most of March. It is the last sign of the astrological calendar, and it ends at the equinox. So at the equinox is when the new astrological calendar begins. Pisces is a watery, it's a mutable water sign. And this just indicates to us that as a water sign, it's very in touch with its emotions and its emotional body. And there's a lot of emotional sensitivity that comes with Pisces energy. Some of the other themes that come with Pisces energy is imagination, intuition, creativity, empathy, emotional sensitivity, and psychic abilities. So when it comes to Pisces and the water element, we know that water is very fluid and flowy. It relates to our emotional body. And since Pisces is one of the most watery of the water signs, there is this ability to be able to channel the emotional energy that is so abundant with Pisces into creativity and into these artistic skills and projects and endeavors. So you'll find that people with a lot of Pisces energy within them, or maybe even during Pisces season, you may be inspired to start expressing or channeling your emotional energies, your emotional sensitivities. Like, use your creativity and some sort of expression, some sort of emotional expression needs to be an outlet for it, because Pisces is so abundant with this emotional, fluid, watery energy. The highest vibration of this type of energy would be able to intentionally channel your emotional energy into artistic and creative projects. The shadow of it is that there might be an addiction or an overdependence on this kind of emotional energy to fuel the projects, to be the only type of inspiration. So sometimes there is a clinging onto or a longing for, whether it's conscious or unconscious, to stay in a really sensitive or fragile emotional state in order to produce the type of work, the type of creative art projects, the type of art that feels like a release, that feels like a contribution. So in order to do this, in order to transcend this shadow, it's actually quite easy for Pisces, because it's so permeable, it's so fluid, it's so boundaryless, that if there's just an intention to allow for that emotional energy to move through, but to also remember to lean into the optimism, to lean into the positivity, to lean into self-empowerment, so that we're not just victims to our emotions and victims to our circumstances, which is definitely another shadow characteristic of Pisces is victimhood and disillusionment. So just a few things to be really aware of. Now, we know the power of imagination, which is what Pisces is very good at tapping into. And so good to the point that sometimes we can get lost in it. There can be a losing of ourselves in our imaginations, in our daydreams, in our visions, etc. So making sure that there's something that is also grounding us, whether it's just an energetic intention, or whether it's just some sort of constant routine or reminder that we're still here in this physical realm, even though it is the last sign of the zodiac. So there is a little bit of that struggle where there's like one foot in this physical world and one foot in the spiritual world. But to stay grounded while you're still here, and to know, obviously the time here is limited. So there'll be plenty of time to go off into imagination and illusion in the spirit realm. Pisces relates to our sixth chakra. So this is, it's ruled by the planet Neptune. Neptune being like the super watery planet way out there. And it relates to our third eye. So our sixth center, our sixth chakra, right at the center of the forehead. And that third eye is all about uncovering our psychic abilities and trusting our intuition. So these are things that usually become dormant, or usually we start to mistrust or not trust anymore as we use these abilities less and less. But so always important to know that your intuition is something to be trusted and something to be used and to be honored as a guide within you. So a lot of Pisces practices would include closing the physical eyes and really opening up the third eye, opening up ourselves to our dormant psychic abilities and opening ourselves up to trusting and allowing our intuition to be a form of guidance. For exercise and self-care, I would really recommend, because Pisces energy is so sensitive, to make sure that we don't go into emotional or sensation overload, and maybe just pull back a little bit as far as with your exercise routine, or slow down a little bit, right? Make sure, maybe do like a restorative yoga practice instead of a vinyasa yoga practice. Maybe stay in your meditation a little bit longer instead of doing your core workout. You know, it's kind of maybe doing low impact instead of high impact. It is just about slowing down, becoming more in tune with our inner world and less distracted and forceful in our external world. So it's really about aligning with this like mutable, watery, sensitive energy for your exercise routine. And for self-care, it goes along the same realms. Although, because of the water element, try doing something with water, whether it's exercising near water, meditating near water, or actually being in the water, swimming or floating. I mean, all of these things would align you with Pisces energy, which always with that alignment feels comforting. So doing things with water and doing things just a little bit slower, more intentional, more relaxing, right? Less forceful. That's all in alignment with Pisces energy. One other fun thing that you can try is maybe some sort of improvisational, some sort of intuitive flow or improvisational dance, or some sort of improvised workout, something that just allows you to move your body in the way that it feels, versus telling it what to do. For yoga, it would be the same thing, to do something very fluid, do something very simple as far as maybe the types of sequences, the type of postures that you can do with your eyes closed. That would be what I would be practicing for a Pisces theme practice. Eyes closed so that the third eye has an opportunity to wake up and to start to sense and feel things and tell you things and guide you, by activating, right? By opening up, by seeing beyond just the physical. Always taking a longer Shavasana when it's Pisces season. For food and diet, we're slowly transitioning from winter into spring. So like I said, at the equinox, at the end of Pisces season, at the beginning of Aries, at the beginning of that astrological calendar year, is when we shift, at least in the northern hemisphere, into spring. So starting to shift from the winter diet into the spring diet is great. It's a great time to prepare for maybe some sort of detox or some sort of dietary reset. As in Aries season, it's always that would be the time. The equinox is always a great time to do some sort of detox or cleanse. But during Pisces season, we can maybe prepare ourselves for something like that, right? So start to eat a little bit lighter, start to space out your meals a little bit longer, maybe start to, choose things that are a little bit more fresh, more, fresh produce, fresh things that are in season. That are uncooked, fresh and raw. That would be what we'd want to integrate as we start moving into the spring season. For the full moon and the new moon, right? When it's a new moon in Pisces, it's always a great time to start practicing or doing something that really helps wake up your intuitive eye, your inner voice, your psychic senses, etc. So whatever that might be, right? It could be just starting like a dream journal. It could be doing more third eye meditations. It could be really using your imagination to intentionally envision what it is that you would like to manifest, right? Remember, new moons are times to plant seeds for our manifestations and our creations. And for the full moon, right, the opposite sign that the moon will be in Virgo. And Virgo is, it's time to let some of that perfectionism, some of the expectations that we might have for ourselves, it's time to release some of that. Release some of the judgment, right? Sit back into the Pisces energy of being a little bit more in flow, in flux, going with the flow versus being really rigid and stuck in a routine that Virgo sometimes wants to bring us. Also, for a release for the Pisces full moon or the Virgo full moon in Pisces season, do something that's going to help you release some sort of creative release, some sort of artistic release, right? Maybe it's singing, maybe it's poetry, maybe it's writing, maybe it's playing an instrument, maybe it's painting, but doing, something that helps release some of the intense emotion that comes with, that sometimes comes with the full moon. So those are your tips and themes for Pisces season. If you have any questions, always feel free to email us at heartbeat2go@gmail or DM us at heartbeat2go on Instagram. And we will see you soon for the next overview.